video on walking chords for jazz guitar. Hi, I'm Mike Hayes, and in this video we'll be looking at ways of using walking chords to connect minor 7th chords to major 7th chords and dominant 7th chords to minor chords. I'll be giving you examples of how to use these walking chords in chord progressions and in tunes. In this session, our focus will be on ascending walking chords. We'll be covering descending walking patterns in a future video. With all the walking chord examples, I'm using 3-note chords. I'm leaving out the 5th of every chord, and I'm playing the chords fingerstyle. In a previous video, we discussed how we could walk between a major 7th chord and a minor 7th chord. I'll leave a link in the description below in case you want to check that out. All the following examples will be in the key of C. Our first project will be to create a sequence of walking chords moving from the 2 chord in the key of C, that's the D minor 7, to the 4 chord, which would be F major 7th. Our first step will be to create a strong bass line. And we do this by measuring the distance between our starting point, which would be the note D, and our destination note, which would be the note F. And if we put these two notes on the same string, as in the diagram that you'll see in front of you on the screen, we'll see that the measurement between the note D and F is a minor 3rd, or 3 frets away. A useful guideline to keep in mind is that when we're wanting to create a walking bass line between notes that are a minor 3rd apart, is to use chromatic notes. In this instance, we're going to move between D and F, so the chromatic notes will be D sharp and E. And you'll see these chromatic notes in this next diagram. Our starting note D and our destination note are coloured in black, with the chromatic notes shown as clear dots. Here's our starting chord, the D minor 7, and now here's our destination chord, the F major 7. The idea is to have the bass line moving up chromatically, and once you leave your starting chord, in this instance it's D minor 7, the chord quality becomes the same as your destination chord. So what that means is our first chord will be D minor 7, and the following connecting or walking chords will be all major 7th chords. Let's have a listen to how that sounds. I'll play the example 4 times. Now let's develop this idea a little bit further. We're going to create a walking chord progression from a C major 7th to an E minor 7th. So once again, we go to the guitar fingerboard and we place the starting note and our destination or target note on the 1 string. And we're doing this so we can measure the interval distance between our starting note and our destination note. And when we do this, we'll see that these 2 notes are 4 frets apart, or what we call a major 3rd apart. And the guideline for creating an ascending bass part between 2 notes that are a major 3rd apart is tone, semitone, semitone. And as you'll see on this next diagram, we have our starting note, the C, as a black dot, and our destination note, E, as a black dot, with the other 2 connecting bass notes marked in as clear dots. Once we've identified the bass notes, the principle for creating the walking chord harmonies is the same process that we just went through before. In other words, once you leave your starting chord, the remaining chords in the sequence are the same as your destination chord. So in this example, we're starting with a C major 7th. Our destination chord is E minor 7th. So the connecting chords will all be minor 7th chords. Therefore, the chord sequence will be C major 7th, D minor 7th, D sharp minor 7th, E minor 7th. Now let's have a listen to how this walking chord sequence sounds together with the chord sequence that we made earlier, the D minor 7th walking to F major 7th. So we're going to start with the bar of C major 7th walking to E minor 7th. In bar 2, we're going to have D minor 7th walking to F major 7th. And I'll play this example through twice. For this next example, we're going to create a set of walking chords that move from a G 7th to a B minor 7th. Now in the key of C, if we were playing this B minor chord as a 4-note chord, it would be a B minor 7 flat 5. However, since we're playing chords that do not contain a fifth, we're going to treat it as a B minor 7. And once again, we go through the same process. Our starting note is G, our destination note is B. We place these two notes on the one string so we can measure the distance between our starting note and our destination note. And in this instance, the two notes are a major third apart. So the bass part turns out to be the same design that we just used for the C major 7th moving to the E minor 7th. In other words, since our starting note and destination note are a major third apart, our bass line will be constructed as tone, semitone, semitone. And here's how that bass line design would look on the 4th string, with our starting note and destination note shown as a black dot, with our connecting bass notes shown as clear dots. And once again, our beginning chord is a G 7th and our connecting harmonies are minor 7th chords because our target chord is a minor 7th chord. Let's have a listen to how that sounds, and I'll play the example 4 times. For this next example, I'm going to use a chord that is not in the key of C. The chord I'm going to use is A 7th, and we're going to create a set of walking chords that move from A 7th to C sharp minor 7th. So we go through the same process again. I measure the distance between A and C sharp, and it turns out to be a major third. So our bass design will be tone, semitone, semitone. Our beginning chord will be A 7th, and my target chord is C sharp minor 7th. Therefore, the connecting walking chords will be minor 7th chords. So the A 7th walking chords will be A 7th, B minor 7th, C minor 7th, C sharp minor 7th. Let's have a listen to how that sounds, and then we'll put all the types of walking chords that we've been learning all together in a chord progression. But first, here's the A 7th walking chords. probably all blurry-eyed from seeing all these chords running across the screen, but let's look at it another way. The D minor 7th walking to F major 7th could really be considered as a bar of D minor, because the F major 7th could be thought of as a D minor 9th. Likewise, our G 7th walking to B minor 7th could be thought of as a bar of G 7th, because the B minor 7th could be thought of as free notes from a G 9th chord. And once again, if we had a close look at the C major 7th moving to E minor 7th, we could think of this as a bar of C major 7th, the E minor 7th making up 3 of the notes of a C major 9th chord. So for this next example, I'm thinking of a chord progression that is 1 bar of D minor 7th, 1 bar of G 7th, 1 bar of C major 7th, and 1 bar of A 7th. And I'm using all these walking chords to create movement from this basic set of chords. Let's have a listen. For this next example, I'm going to use the chord progression from a great old Duke Ellington tune called Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. Now, I'm only going to play a section of this tune. I'm going to play the A2 section of Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me, and in this A2 section, I'm just going to sustain the chords. And then when I get to the B section, I'm going to introduce some movement using these walking chords. Here's an example of the basic set of chords for the B section of Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. And as you can see, there's not a great deal of harmonic movement there. I'm going to now take you through a guided tour of the B section using some walking chords, and I'll explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Okay, bar 1 of the B section is really 2 beats on B major. However, I've created some harmonic movement by changing from a B major 7th on the first beat to a B6 on the second beat. And then I'm using this walking bass pattern that we learnt earlier on, where I'm moving from a major 7th chord, or in this case a major 6th chord, and I'm moving through a set of chords until I arrive on the minor chord, that is the 3rd chord in that particular key. And because we're working in the key of B major, chord 3 in the key of B is D sharp minor. So there's that ascending walking pattern that we spoke about. I'm moving from the major chord up to the minor chord, up to chord 3 in that key, which turns out to be D sharp minor 7. And then I'm moving down chromatically. I'm playing a D minor 7th with my intention of landing on C sharp minor 7th on beat 3. And the idea behind this is that I'm wanting to create a 2-5 progression. So on beat 3 I have my C sharp minor 7th, on beat 4 I have F sharp 7th. So there's my 2-5, and I'm doing that so that I can start all over again. When we move over to bar 3, I'm back doing that movement from B major 7th to B6. And then off I go again with a 2-5, C sharp minor 7th on beat 3, F sharp 7th on beat 4. Over to bar 4, and I have 2 beats on B major 7th this time, and then 2 beats on B6. Over to bar 5, and we have that major 7th moving to chord 3 in the key. Now at the moment we're dealing with chords from the key of E flat. So my first chord is E flat major 7th. I'm using that ascending set of walking chords where I'm moving from the major chord to the minor chord. That's the third of that particular key, and because we're in the key of E flat, my third chord would be G minor 7th. Over to bar 6, and I'm using that set of walking chords that we used at the beginning of this video, where I'm walking from chord 2 in the key of B flat up to chord 4, which would be E flat major 7th. And at the moment it's identified as D sharp major 7th, which of course is the same chord as E flat major 7th. Over to bar 7, and we have another set of ascending walking chords. Now it can be a bit tricky because we're moving through a whole lot of different keys here, but take your time and have a look and see if you can see the type of things that I'm talking about here when I'm playing these walking chords. Okay, it's time to have a listen to how all that sounds. Well, that's it for today, folks. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope there's something there that you can use in your own music projects. We'll be covering more subjects like this in future lessons, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Also, if you enjoy the type of things that we're doing here, we'd appreciate if you hit the like button. It really helps us out. If you have any questions or comments, pop them in the comment section below this video. And as always, I look forward to catching up with you again next time. Bye for now.